Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Atlanta Startup Podcast. My name is William Leonard, your host for today, and I'm thrilled to be sitting down with the manager of industry discovery and research at Catalyst by Wellstar, Stefanie Diaz. Stefanie, thank you for joining me today.
I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you so much for having me. Excited to dive in.
Yeah, likewise. I've seen some fascinating and exciting announcements that you've made on LinkedIn regarding Catalyst and Wellstar. So we'll definitely dive into that a bit more. But I would love for you to just level set here for our audience and tell us a little bit more about Catalyst, and then we can dive into your background and more of your role within the program.
Perfect. Before I dive into Catalyst, I'll set the stage with Wellstar. Wellstar is Georgia's largest healthcare system, employing nearly 25,000 team members, 10 hospitals, more than 300 locations. And fun fact, Wellstar has a personal meaning for me. My mom was a Wellstar nurse for like 16 years when I was growing up. So the Wellstar name is a household name for me. And in this time of lots of change in the healthcare space, and lots of innovation coming into the forefront, Wellstar made the decision about a year and a half ago to launch Catalyst by Wellstar. And what I love to look at Catalyst by Wellstar as equal parts corporate innovation and corporate venture. And so we're tasked with understanding the problems that exist in healthcare systems and the healthcare industry, identifying the best path for a solution. And then we have the ability to source startups and technology and bring them in-house through pilot and proof of concept. We have the ability to stand up a business internally and launch it into the market. And then we have the ability to make strategic investments and be a part of the conversation around the tech that is disrupting healthcare at a much earlier stage than we would have otherwise.
That's so fascinating. So this is a very robust and dynamic program that is identifying and understanding the problems in the healthcare industry, identifying now tech-driven solutions to solve these problems. And you all have kind of free reign to kind of understand and take these solutions however you all best see fit through the program. So this is really fascinating. Tell us more about your background and how you got involved with Catalyst by Wellstar.
Yeah. So when I came out of my MBA, I actually landed in the pharmaceutical industry, and was within a pharmaceutical startup. We ended up growing that company to over 100 million in annual revenue in 4 years. And that was definitely a formative experience for me when it comes to my understanding of business and my confidence when it comes to entrepreneurship. I was reporting right into the owner. And any small team, you have a role, but you wear many hats. So you touch everything. And so, with that experience early in my career, I was excited to put it to work in a meaningful way. What that looked like in the short term was I started helping friends and family launch businesses. And eventually I said, I think this helping people launch businesses is part of what I'm supposed to be doing. And so, I'm an OG podcaster. Back in 2015, I launched my first show and started interviewing business owners. And someone said, hey, you should go down to this place. It's called Atlanta Tech Village. They've got a lot of really cool founders there. And so that it's like the rest is history. I started going to ATV, understanding more about the tech world, using the experience that I had to help tech founders position themselves in the market and grow their companies. I started leaning into working with women specifically as well. Even though I come in, through male-dominated industries, I felt really called to serve that community. And, a lot of doors have, opened for me since then. I ended up joining with a fintech company as head of investor relations, which really started to open the door into the VC world. And that's what led me to Catalyst by Wellstar.
Nice. And when did you join Catalyst? What year?
Catalyst, yeah, well, this year. So Catalyst is a young and budding team.
Yeah.
We've really, been forming the team throughout this year. So I joined in March, just celebrated 6 months not too long ago, and we have someone who today celebrated 10 days. And so building the team has definitely been part of the focus of 2022 for Catalyst.
I love that. And I love the perspective that you bring from working in several startups in this space and kind of thinking about how innovation can take shape and the perfect wedge for innovation in this space. And so, you know, as you kind of think about your day-to-day role as the manager of industry discovery and research, what does that practically mean? What is a typical week look like for you, Stefanie?
Well, no 2 weeks are the same right now, but what the way I look at our group is keeping an external lens on all things healthcare, tech, and venture. And so fortunately, having been a part of the Atlanta ecosystem for a while, I have access and I'm a volunteer mentor at Atlanta Tech Village. I'm a portfolio manager for Goody Nation. And so understanding what startup founders are out there building technology and then bringing them into Catalyst, however I can, is a big part of my role. We also have a lot of projects going on internally that require research. We do, landscape reports, try and get a really deep understanding of the lay of the land in the industry. The cool thing about the Catalyst team is that not all of us come from healthcare. Some come from tech, some come from venture, some do have a more formal like healthcare background. And so providing the resources that allow the entire team to have a really big picture view on the problems that we're looking to solve is also a part of what we're doing within the industry research team.
You're keeping your ear to the ground and you're really trying to understand the entire landscape and understand how technologies can fit within the Catalyst mission. And so you mentioned that you're, connecting with founders, you're immersed in the ecosystem and bringing startups to Catalyst. Can you tell us more about how this practically works and what types of startups are most suited to collaborate with Catalyst?
Yeah. So, and there's a couple of different ways that, at least in this early phase, that we've been bringing startups in. One thing that is a part of my role is that I host think tanks within Wellstar for our senior leadership around our different focus areas throughout the year. And so when we do a think tank, which is really allowing our senior leadership to get a peek into, what's going on and maybe plant some seeds for some disruption that we're looking at, I like to use that as a platform to bring in startups at various stages. We've had some pre-seed startups come in, just share what they're, thinking, how they're looking at the industry differently, put those ideas in front of senior leadership and get a conversation going. And sometimes you have very differing views on, on what the future of the industry looks like. And those are some of my favorite conversations. But something that I'm really excited about too is the fact that Catalyst is now accepting applications for funding. So if a startup is looking for investment, then that's also a part of what my group does. We manage the deal flow process. And so startups are able to go to our website, catalyst.wellstar.org, and submit an application right there. We look at early stage and late stage companies and apply for funding. And so, we have the ability to, from just a general conversation and getting you in front of healthcare system leaders, which can be game changing for an early stage startup, to piloting technology within the organization, to funding. Those are some of the ways that we're bringing in startups right now.
That's so fascinating. And is there a deadline for founders who may be listening, deadline for them to apply by?
No, we are open for
Right.
business. And this is, this is pretty new. We have made one indirect investment to date, and that is with Engage VC. And so via their fund, we've made 30 indirect investments to date. And that has been an incredible experience for Catalyst. I look forward to seeing our direct investments begin in the near future and a cadence from there on out. So it will be an ongoing rolling process.
Wow. Congrats on the early investments and partnerships there.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, of course. So you mentioned early stage, late stage startups can now apply for funding on the website. I have a question. Do startups have to be particularly focused on healthcare, or can it be some type of adjacent technology like cybersecurity that can have a healthcare application?
That's a great question. And I have to share one of the thesis statements that Catalyst has had from the beginning, and that is that not all healthcare problems are solved by healthcare solutions.
Mhm.
And so we love looking at other industries to see who's doing what, and then applying it, seeing how we can apply it back to the experience for our team members, for our patients. And so I would say, as long as there is a relevant application to healthcare, and obviously there has to be an understanding of the dynamics within that,
Mhm.
then yeah, we're excited to explore it. And that may be for investment. That may be that Wellstar is the place where you test that.
Right.
So yeah, those are the conversations we want to be having.
That is incredibly helpful to know. And I can just say, from a personal note, I love the energy of Catalyst. I see a lot of the faces that are on the Catalyst company page. You see those same faces active at events in the community. So I can definitely give you all kudos and props to being boots on the ground here in this ecosystem. And,
Thank you.
relative to that, what events or big things did you all take place in 2022, and kind of springboarding off of that, what are you all looking ahead to in 2023?
Definitely. Well, I will say that 2022 was about building the team, that you just mentioned. And thank you for picking up on the energy that we're looking to bring. We describe our culture in Catalyst as kind but scrappy, and that has definitely been the case. We've got some incredible team members. We just hired our new head of venture, John D. Cooper. Catalyst originally, was stood up by Dr. Hank Capps, our EVP, and Jamie Clark, our director of innovation and venture strategy. And I can't name every single team member, but we are having a ball. So I think that was a really important focus for 2022, but also, especially thanks to the Engage investment, we were able to pilot some technology and really start to put our processes into place. We did a pilot with Moth and Flame, which is all about virtual reality leadership training. And we were able to bring in, 100 leaders, have them test the VR experience, and then give us feedback on what are your thoughts on implementing this moving forward. We implemented wellness rooms. That was an initiative system wide, and we were able to really double down on the technology within the wellness rooms, implementing spatial, which is a sound immersion technology that is just incredible, and we're really excited about that partnership, as well as MetaCX, which allows us to track the benefits, of the wellness room, and really keep an eye on, how we can optimize that experience for our team members. And so another Engage company that we have partnered with is Be Downtown. They installed beehives, on our facilities. And so there's definitely a sustainability, and climate tech focus to that. But it's been, a really incredible experience to explore just, really different ways that we can partner with startups,
Yeah.
bring them into our ecosystem, and change the experience for our staff and our patients.
And Stephanie, you all have looked at so many different types of companies since you all have started investing. And I want to hone in on some of the focus areas that are most attractive for you all right now from a catalyst perspective, but then also from a personal perspective for you as well.
Definitely. And we have identified our focus areas. There's a lot of innovation out there, and it can get really exciting and overwhelming. And so, to make sure that we are having as much impact as possible, we've dialed it in for 6 different focus areas. They are digital health, customer experience, data analytics and security, sustainability, supply chain, and future of work. And I'll say that future of work is definitely one that's near and dear to my heart. I mentioned that my mom is a nurse. My dad is also a doctor. I have seen them work inside of healthcare. And especially my mother's experience as a nurse and a nurse manager, and just hearing her talk day in and day out about her work. There's a nurse shortage right now. Nurse retention is a conversation across the board. And so, we're really excited to be working on that. And then for me personally, women's health, femtech, and also the concept of women building for women. I'm a big fan. And so to that extent, I know I'm really excited to see us focus on that as well.
No, those are all great areas. So, founders, if you're listening, please, if she mentioned one of your focus areas that you're building in, definitely reach out to Stefanie or somebody at the Catalyst team to see what type of synergies may exist. And Stefanie, as we're kind of rounding out this conversation here, I know you mentioned you started podcasting a few years ago. I would love to understand what you talk about on your podcast, some of the themes that you dive into, and yeah, tell us more.
Yeah, so She Conquers Capital was started in 2022. And the premise of the show at its core is that it's a podcast for anyone who is curious about venture capital. And it's a place to learn. It's a place to hear stories about how to enter venture capital if you're looking for a career in venture. It's a place to learn about how to close capital if you're, whether you're raising for a startup or for a fund, and getting tricks, and not tricks, but strategies for raising while staying true to your authentic voice as well. That's a big part, especially for women. But for me, it's a place for anyone to come and learn. And it's just this subtle, oh, by the way, these are the voices of women that you're hearing.
Mhm.
And so that plants a seed that lets you know that this industry is filled with women who are knowledgeable, capable, successful, and doing big things. And so that's really the spirit of She Conquers Capital. I also describe it as capital meets spirituality. We talk a lot about the inner journey. I do, a lot of interviews, but I also do solo episodes where I just talk about the inner journey, when it comes to confidence, when it comes to growth. A lot of times we talk about what it takes to start, but there's also an entirely different evolution of once you're there, like, who am I next? I got where I thought I could never be. And now how do I keep taking it from here? And so many other parts of my life start to change around me. And how do I handle that? And how do I give back? And there's so many different conversations to be had. And so it's like the energetics of capital. It's a lot of fun. So
It sounds
definitely
like
check it out.
it
Yeah.
definitely sounds like it's a lot of fun. This all-encompassing resource for whether it's fundraising, breaking into VC, amplifying the voices of women founders in this space. So I love the overall theme and mission of the podcast there. But this was a really insightful conversation because Catalyst is pretty new, and getting exposure to resources that are amplifying and impacting our ecosystem here in Atlanta is so important. So I'm glad that you could come on today and share more about the focus areas, the themes, the type of investments, and the partnerships that Catalyst does provide for our listeners.
Thank you. And I do have one more thing to share about Catalyst, the work that we're doing, and an invitation. So one of my favorite aspects about Catalyst is called Catalyst Voice. And Voice is a platform that we've created and soft launched, and it's our way to listen when it comes to our staff, our patients, and really the industry at large. And so we have done a soft launch in the last few months, but we have more than 100,000 patients who have opted in to join Catalyst Voice. And there's within Catalyst Voice in that platform, there are questions and conversations that help us understand the future of healthcare that people really want to see. And so I would definitely encourage people to stay close to Catalyst Voice, because we want to hear everyone has a healthcare experience. It is something that touches every single person. And we don't want to build inside of a vacuum. And so that feedback loop is super important. And so definitely want to make sure that I shout out Catalyst Voice.
Yeah. Shout out to Catalyst Voice and shout out to Catalyst as a whole. And will you remind us one more time of the website where we can find out more information about Catalyst initiatives?
Yes, it is catalyst.wellstar.org.
Awesome. Stefanie, this was an incredible conversation. I appreciate your time and look forward to continuing to see you at some events out and about in the ecosystem.
Likewise. Many thanks for having me.
Of course. Take care.